Welcome back. There's this incredible technology that's quietly weaving itself into the fabric of our world, connecting things one tiny piece of data at a time. You've probably never heard its name, but today we're going to pull back the curtain on LoRaWAN. It's the long-range, low-power heart of the Internet of Things. So let's dive right in. The Internet of Things, or IoT, it's not some far-off future concept anymore. It is here, right now. We are talking billions, literally billions of devices. Everything from sensors out in a farmer's field to the parking meter on your street, and they all need to connect to the Internet. But this explosion of stuff coming online creates one massive, fundamental problem. How in the world do you connect all of it? And right here, this is the core of the challenge. Think about it. Wi-Fi? No way. It doesn't have the range. Cellular data? Sure, the range is there, but it absolutely demolishes a battery. It's no good for a simple sensor that needs to just sit there and run for a decade on one tiny battery. So you've got this puzzle. How do you get both super long range and ultra low power? Well, that is the exact question LoRaWAN was born to answer. Okay, so to really get how it all works, we've got to break down the name itself. Because LoRa and LoRaWAN, they sound similar, but they're actually two different, though very related, pieces of this puzzle. And it all starts with the signal itself. First up, you've got LoRa. Now, this is the physical radio technology, the actual signal that flies through the air. It uses this really clever technique called chirp spread spectrum, which is just brilliant at punching through noise and traveling for miles and miles. The absolute best way to think about LoRa is as the voice. It's the raw power to make a sound and have it heard from very, very far away. But of course, a voice is pretty useless without a language to give it meaning and structure. And that's where LoRaWAN comes in. It's the network protocol that sits right on top of that LoRa signal. And here's the crucial part. It's an open standard. That means it's managed by a whole group called the LoRa Alliance, and it defines all the rules of the road, how devices talk, how the network is structured, how data gets from point A to point B securely. So if LoRa is the voice, LoRaWAN is the language and grammar that turns noise into an actual conversation. All right, so we've got the voice and we've got the language. Now, how do they actually work together to send a piece of information? Let's follow the journey of one single packet of data as it makes its way through a LoRaWAN network. So the whole system has four key players, kind of like a cast of characters. You've got the end devices. These are your sensors out in the field. Then the gateways, which are basically just antennas listening for those devices. You've got the network server, which is the central brain of the entire operation. And finally, the application server, which is where the data actually gets turned into something useful for you and me. Okay, now let's trace this journey on the screen, because this is where the real genius of the system shines through. It all starts on the left with an end device. Let's say it's a water meter in a basement. Now here's the magic. That sensor doesn't have to find and connect to a specific gateway like your phone does with Wi-Fi. It just shouts its message out into the world. This makes the device itself incredibly simple, cheap, and low power. And what's really cool is that its signal gets picked up by any and all gateways within range, not just one. Those gateways just pass the raw message along over the internet to the network server. The server is like the traffic cop. It sees it got the same message from, say, 3 different gateways, throws out the duplicates, and routes that one clean packet to the right application server. And that's it. That's where the data finally pops up on your dashboard. But here's the thing. Not all IoT devices are created equal, right? A soil moisture sensor that just reports in once a day has totally different needs than, say, a smart lock that has to receive a command to open right now. LoRaWAN handles this with a really smart bit of flexibility called device classes. It really all boils down to a trade-off. Battery life versus how quickly you can talk back to the device. So on one end, you have class A. This is the absolute king of power efficiency. A device wakes up, sends its data, and then quickly listens for a reply in 2 very short windows before going right back to sleep. Perfect for a simple sensor. On the total opposite end, you have class C for continuous. This device is almost always listening, so you can send it a command anytime. Great for an actuator, like a streetlight controller, but it's much hungrier for power. And then Class B sits right there in the middle, waking up to listen at scheduled times. The bottom line is, you get to pick the exact class that perfectly fits your needs, optimizing that balance between battery and responsiveness. Okay, so we've got billions of devices all sending data through the air. The next big question you have to ask is it secure? Because for the IoT to actually work and for us to trust it, the answer has to be a rock-solid yes. And the stakes here are incredibly high.
I mean, a security breach isn't just about losing some data. It can absolutely destroy a company's reputation. And that's exactly why LoRaWAN was designed from the ground up with security at its very core.
This image here shows the approach perfectly. LoRaWAN uses two completely independent layers of security. The best analogy is like putting a secret message in a locked box, and then putting that locked box inside another different locked box. You can see it in the diagram. There's a network key, that's the red line, that protects the message on its journey through the network. But then there's a totally separate application key, that's the blue line, that protects the actual data itself all the way to the very end. Two locks, two different keys.
So let's break that down. First, you have that network layer encryption. That's all about making sure the device is who it says it is and that the message hasn't been tampered with. But then, and this is the really important part, you have a totally separate application layer of encryption. This scrambles the actual data, the payload itself, from the sensor all the way to your final application. What does that mean? It means even the people running the network can't read your data. It's true end-to-end encryption, built right in.
So we've established the technology is clever, it's flexible, and it's secure. But where is it actually making a difference? Let's zoom out and look at the real-world solutions that are already all around us, probably without you even knowing it. Just to give you a sense of the scale here, look at this number. By April of 2019, so that's years ago, almost 100 million LoRa-enabled devices had already been shipped. This is not some experimental niche technology. This is a massive global ecosystem that's been growing like crazy.
So where are all these devices? Well, they're everywhere, hiding in plain sight. They're in smart water and gas meters that automatically report your usage. They're in smart parking spots that tell an app if they're open. They're in city trash cans that call for a pickup only when they're full. They're tracking assets on construction sites and monitoring soil conditions in farm fields. The list just goes on and on.
Now, LoRaWAN isn't the only game in town. Its main competitor is something called NB-IoT, which uses the licensed cellular spectrum, the same stuff your phone uses. And this chart does a great job of showing where each one shines. You can see from that big green shape that LoRaWAN just crushes it when it comes to battery life and cost, two things that are absolutely critical when you're thinking about deploying thousands or even millions of these little sensors. And here are the hard numbers to prove it. I mean, look at that battery life, 15 plus years for LoRaWAN. It also runs on unlicensed spectrum, which is basically free to use, and that keeps costs way down. But check out the current draw, especially that sleep current. It is absolutely tiny. And since these devices spend almost their entire lives asleep, that right there, that is the secret sauce that makes that decade-plus battery life a reality. So when you put it all together, the incredible range, the ridiculously low power needs, the rock-solid security, and the flexibility that comes from an open standard, you've got a really powerful solution to a really big problem. Which leaves us with one final thought. Is this the key? Is LoRaWAN the technology that will finally and affordably connect the next billion everyday objects to the internet?